Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Allen. I'm joined by my usual broadcast partner, former NHL defenseman Tom Laidlaw, who played 11 seasons with those New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings. This is the Laidlaw and Allen Report. We come to you twice a week to talk all things hockey. And Tom, today we'll start out by talking vaccinations, COVID-19. I'm actually going today to get my booster shot. I gave it some thought about whether I should do it, ask my cardiologist about it, and I've decided to do it. I think that from what I read, that, I'm not likely to be hospitalized with the vaccinations I already have. If I get it, if there's a breakthrough infection, but, I don't want to be miserable for 8 or 9 days and just get it. And there is some studies that show that the efficacy, we never even used that word efficacy until we found out about COVID-19, that it starts to wane a little bit. You're still protected, but the protection isn't as strong after 6 months. It's been 7 months since I was full.
Is that right? It's been that long? Wow.
Yeah, February is when I had mine. So, and, if you're 65 and older, you can get it. They're recommending you get it. So I've decided to do it. My wife hasn't made up her mind yet whether she's going to do it, because you are still protected. It's just a matter of what degrees. And the other factor I weighed in is, I'm going back to games this season. And right now, although this could change, I think they're going to let us talk to the players. And one of those players that will be in that room is going to be unvaccinated Tyler Bertuzzi. Ooh. And of course, that was a major story last week. Tyler Bertuzzi has decided that he will remain unvaccinated. He just said personal choice, personal freedom, really did not elaborate on why he's doing it, whether it's, that he's concerned about the safety of the vaccine or whether it's politically motivated, or just really didn't explain. But the consequences are he will miss 9 games in Canada if he stays unvaccinated, and if the Canadian border situation remains the same. There'll be some logistical issues for him to get to the games right after the games that are in Canada. For example, the first one will be easy because the Red Wings play on a Saturday night in Montreal and then a Sunday night in Chicago. It's about a 4.5 hour drive from Detroit to Chicago. So he could just drive there and leave his rental car and then join the team as it moves on from there. Right. But there's some other issues that will not be as simple. They're going to go on a Western road trip where they'll play 3 games in Canada, and then they'll head off to Seattle. So he'll have to get to Seattle on a commercial airline. Unclear of who pays for that. He will miss, depending on how many games, and I didn't add these up. I probably should have. If I was a good reporter, I would. How many games in between, or how many practices, how many days in between those games he'll miss? Because you get paid, as you know, as a former agent, per day, not per game.
Yeah.
So but the best guess is he'll miss about $450,000 in salary by choosing not to be vaccinated.
Man. And what it does, and you think about the season too, like as a coach, he's a pretty important player for that team too, right? So man,
I'm going to go even further than that. I'm not so sure he isn't the most important player, and this is my argument. He is the heart and soul of that team. Like, he provides the fire, the passion. Whenever there's trouble, he's first one in line. Yeah. You know how he plays. He plays edgy. And that's why, to me, it's I guess it's kind of shocking, and it isn't, if you know his personality, but that he wouldn't do that. But this is the irony. He is the ultimate team guy on the team. The ultimate team guy. Standing up for his teammates, very popular within the room. And yet I see this, and I really want to get your take on it because you're the player, I'm not. Yeah. This is really not, this is anti-team.
Yeah.
Everybody else is vaccinated. Everybody went and got poked. Everyone got jabbed. Everyone, the room now, by all the standards that we have here, is fully protected. No, it's not. It's not, because Tyler Bertuzzi is going to enter that room, sit on that bench as an unvaccinated member. He could bring the virus back in. We could have breakthrough infections. It's a complicated thing. I wrote a column that was anti-Tyler Bertuzzi, and I didn't feel great about it. That's how I felt. Like, I think it's not a team. You're not being a very good teammate by doing.
Well, think of the teammates, and it's a young team, so there probably isn't too many of them. But the older teammates who have families too, with kids and everything, and wives, and girlfriends, and
this is a lot of this, like the players are in the prime of their lives, so they're having children. The wives get pregnant. There's all kinds of issues here that go well beyond hockey. But even from the hockey perspective, that's almost 11% of the schedule.
Yeah. Oh.
The
hockey is guys going for beers together and fighting for each other and taking hits for each other. You can't go get a vaccine for the team.
Well, and you can't get a beer with Tyler Bertuzzi because there are protocols for unvaccinated players. He can't go in team hotel bars. He can't go in the hotel restaurants. Basically, he's limited. He's being asked to be more like the players had to be last year, while the fully protected players will be able to go on. But in the room, you're still going to be sitting next to him. You're still going to be on the bench with him.
Has he made any comments on why he made that decision to not get vaccinated?
No, just personal choice, personal freedom, personal decisions that I talked it over with my fiance and family. I asked him directly, who'd you talk to? I wondered if he had talked to medical professionals or in there.
Right.
And he basically said no. He basically said, my family and my fiance. So we don't know why he did it. And, there's going to end up being about 10 players or so. That's what we're being told. A member of the New Jersey Devils who has not been identified but has been said to be a prominent player also is unvaccinated. So nobody has revealed who that is yet. But we're going to know when they go to Canada. We'll know because he won't be with them. So
that's interesting. Well, I didn't think that through, that was going to be a problem and all the consequences that come with that. Right, man. And especially like that, such a team game. The team part of it is so important, And again, young teams like that, New Jersey's got a good young team. Detroit's building a good young team. Well, I wonder what Steve Yzerman would do in that case. I guess he's got to be really careful to not kind of force his opinions on that, but he must have a conversation with the guy because it really hurts his career too, right?
Well, it was very interesting what Steve had to say about it. He basically said, look, it's his choice. There's nothing we can do about it. The PA and NHL agreed that, there's protocol in place, so they're accepting of the fact. However, other teams have been less generous in how they're reacting. The Columbus Blue Jackets sent their guy, Ronaldo, right to the minors, said, no, don't come to training camp.
Didn't they fire their coach too?
They did. They fired their coach. No, don't come to our training camp, they said to Zach. Because he was invited to camp and then he was disinvited. And now we have an Archibald like in Edmonton. Interesting. Duncan Keith, veteran guy, known as a team player, wasn't vaccinated, but came to Canada, and after talking about it, I'm assuming with Ken Holland or with teammates or whatever, he immediately got poked.
Wow.
He said, I'm in. So he got the vaccine even though he wasn't vaccinated before. Now it's going to take some time, and now he's going to miss some training camp, but he's a veteran player, and I'm assuming he keeps himself in shape, so it won't be the end of the world. Archibald, who's the fourth liner, who was, I guess, projected to certainly fill that role, and of course he was I think a $1.1 million player. He's going to end up in the minor leagues, because he's not indispensable. He's replaceable. And so he's going to go down. Bodie Wild with the Islanders, he wasn't even projected to make the team, but nope, not coming to camp, unvaccinated.
Wow.
I
didn't even think that through that kind of stuff was going to happen. Guys chose not to get vaccinated. Wow.
Now let's think about this. Would you, first of all, when you were young, were you politically motivated enough to get involved in any political?
It was all about the team. I don't think most of us, we've actually had conversations about this. We were so wrapped up in the team and playing the game that we were embarrassingly unaware of everything else going on in the world. So if they had told us to get the vaccine back then, we would have got the vaccine. It wouldn't have been a question.
Yeah. No, and to be honest, I think if it wasn't the climate here, like like if the team was all going, let's just say for this, I don't know, this wouldn't happen, but you were going overseas to do something. You were going to play a game behind the Iron Curtain, and there was a measles outbreak or something, and they said, hey, we're all going to give you a vaccine just because, we're going to play one game over there as a precaution. We're going to do this. Like, everybody would just walk up, roll up their sleeve, and you get the vaccine.
Yeah, right. Well, okay. Would they do that to a top 6 guy? Good question. So, there's no choice about what's happened to Bertuzzi. I mean, he's a top player with Detroit, and they're not going to play. That's not a decision, right?
Yeah, no, that's the right question to ask, though. And the answer is, well, we see what's going on with Detroit. Now, getting back to Yzerman. So Yzerman, basically said, I think, obviously the Rinaldi didn't have a one-way contract. Nor do I think Archibald has one either. Right. I think that's a two-way. So they have options to do that. With Bertuzzi, what Yzerman said is, look, we don't really have any option to this. That's his choice. I got to respect that. However, he basically said, I've been vaccinated. My whole family's been vaccinated. I'll just leave it at that. Now, I think he said a lot with those words. Yeah. I think he said a lot. Yeah. And I talked to Dylan Larkin, as we all did in the media. He's the captain of the Red Wings, close friend of Bertuzzi's. He said, I've talked to Tyler about it. I know his stand on this. He's thought about it a lot. He's very popular in our room. We all, like him. We're going to respect him on this. So I don't know.
And I like the way that Larkin handled it. Now, is that really the truth? I mean, I'm not accusing him of lying, but that's a good way to handle it publicly. Again, right. You're not going out and bad-mouthing your own teammate. But at the same time, I mean, I guess I think back to, let's say it's Mark Messier playing today. And somebody else on the team, everybody else gets vaccinated, and Mark Messier wants this guy playing. Mark Messier comes and talks to you. I mean, even just looking at you, or Clark Gillies with that one eyebrow going across the top of his head. Hey, Tom, why aren't you vaccinated? And you're thinking, maybe I should get vaccinated, right? That's the part, to me, is the team part. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I never really thought about it that much. I thought through the process, but that's really hurting the team, especially that popular a player and that important a player on the team like Bertuzzi. So,
yeah, it's now the other thing too is I've thought about it as well. A lot of guys, and you and I have talked about this before, an air of invincibility that the players have. You don't really think about those things. And I think that will be the reaction. I don't think that a player is going to go in the Red Wings dressing room every day and think about, I might get the virus. They don't think about that. However,
but the guys that are married, though, the wife. But
here's my point on that. However, I think some days you will think about it. Yeah. Somebody coughs. And you're also sort of up. You're also trusting Bertuzzi that he doesn't put himself in positions where he could get the virus too. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's all that. It just makes it far more complicated, than it needs to be. Yeah. Especially, and the thing that I thought about as well is, look, we didn't develop the vaccine 4 days ago, and we're giving it for the first time. Right. I had mine 7 months ago. Healthcare workers started getting theirs in December. Yeah. And, are there side effects? Well, yes, we've seen them, but they're a minimal amount. They're in the acceptable areas of things. So, the safety issue of it, I just don't know how you can make a case that it's not, we've seen what's happening. And, if there are long-term effects, if there are long-term impacts, they haven't started to show up yet in terms of the virus. And what we do know is there are long-term impacts of some people who get the virus. And we know that even in the world of hockey, where the goaltender in Edmonton, now I'm drawing a blank on his name. No, he was with the Sharks and
Talbot?
No. No, it was a backup goalie. He ended up going with Edmonton, and Ken Holland. It'll come to me, but anyway, Ken Holland announced that he has a heart condition that was caused by, he has a long haulers syndrome of COVID, and he won't be able to play this season.
Oh, wow.
And it's terrible that I can't come up with his name. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Kev, the more I think about it, the more with Bertuzzi, like with all these guys, I'm thinking, and that's so anti-team. I know it's a whole different story. It's not like going for a beer with the guys. It's not like sticking up for a teammate on the ice. It's a whole different decision.
Hold on, it just came to me. Alex Stalock. Okay.
Yes,
Alex Stalock is out for the season with long haulers disease, a heart issue caused by COVID. Now, Alex Stalock is not my age. He is in his early 30s. We say players are invincible. Apparently, he's not invincible.
Yeah.
So it's, it's just such a complicated issue. And I know there are, because we all know people who, think long and hard about these things. Even I just explained that, I went through a thought process about whether I needed a booster or not. And, I'm not sure what my wife's going to do. She's read some of the same stuff that I have. And she said, I'm going to wait just a bit and think about it. So
interesting.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting ramification. I didn't even think about that whole team part. And more, like I said, the more I think about it, it kind of bothers me more that a guy who, especially a guy as a team player like Bertuzzi is, and is so liked, it's kind of I hate to say it. Again, I don't know his rationale, so I should be careful when I say it. It's almost like a selfish decision. It's not like you're just on your own. It's a team.
Well, many people have said that on social media, have called that selfish. I actually use that word as well in my column. This is the thing that's problematic for Tyler is we set ourselves up, we being the collective hockey community, about how much a team game hockey is. Right. We almost hold our nose quite up in the air a little bit. A little bit of snobbery about our game is not individual like basketball. You hear that all the time. If you have one great basketball player, you can be a good team. You can't have one good hockey player. We're all in this together in hockey. Chemistry is important. Leadership is important. All those things, and yet, we have 10 guys who have said, you can only take this team thing so far. And I'm not going to get, vaccinated. So it's really, it's really a fascinating story.
Kevin, even more like now he's still going to be playing games against other teams it's a physical game. So they're going to be out there knowing that, okay, I went and got the vaccine. I don't know what you're doing with your life. I don't know where you were last night. Were you out in a crowd of people? And now you're coming on the ice and now you're running into me. We're in a scrum together. We're in a fight together. We're falling on top of each other. Man, that's a lot. The more I think about it, if I'm a player on the other team, I'm even saying, like, what are you thinking about? Like, we all got vaccinated.
Yeah, it's complicated. It really, well, I'll give you a perfect example. My wife and I just found out last week that a man that we've known, I call him a friend. We don't see him all that often, but my wife was actually looking for him for something. And that's when we discovered he had actually passed away last week of COVID, 52 years old. Not a man that had identifiable comorbidities. He was a thin man. He, as far as I know, didn't have diabetes or anything of that nature. But he was unvaccinated. And some of his friends that we know, even better than we know him, are a little bit angry that they didn't know that he wasn't vaccinated because they felt they could have talked him into it.
Right.
And he was a man that was out and about. He was a volunteer usher at Red Wing games. He did some things in the community. And one of the things he had done was he had gone to a memorabilia show like 2 weeks ago on a Sunday. And he sat down next to a group of people. And he first announced he wasn't feeling well. And then after they had sat by him for a couple of minutes, one of the guys got up and told the show organizer, "You got to get this guy out of here. He looks like he might have COVID-19." Well, the fact is he did. And he was it cost him his life within a few days.
I hate to say it, I'm sorry you lost your friend, but what's he thinking about being around the other people too?
That's the point. I just tell that story just because of what you were saying about, it gives you pause.
Yeah. The more I think about it, like, the decision not to get back. Listen, if you're on your own, I live by myself. I work out by myself. I got vaccinated because I had to do Ranger stuff. But I may not have gotten vaccinated. But then like, geez, the thought is you're going out, man, like there's so many guys, like the ramifications. Think of the wife that's at home and their husband now is going to work. He's an NHL hockey player. They've got kids at home. They've all got vaccinated. They're trying to do the right thing and be safe. The kids, either, all the schools, sometimes the kids are getting quarantined because somebody else in the school has it, all these other ramifications. And this guy in the National Hockey League decides he's just not going to get vaccinated.
Yeah. Well, if you had not gotten vaccinated, I'd have been all over you, for that. I mean, it's just kind of a silly decision at your age. And, you may be.
By age, I'm invincible. I'm a medical miracle. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, you can say that all you want, but it doesn't change the calendar. And you have less, probably because of your excellent medical condition and your good health, you probably have less of a chance, but you certainly don't have no chance of having
that's debatable.
Yeah,
that's debatable.
Yeah. I've met people like you before.
Speaking of not being in camp, I didn't realize Evander Kane was not allowed to be in camp. There's another investigation going on.
Yeah, no, obviously that's a different kind of story because here's I looked this up to make sure I was right on this. Okay, over the last 6 years, how many penalty minutes and how many goals do you think he's averaged per season over the last 6 seasons?
Penalty minutes over the last 6 seasons? Well, so penalty minutes, or at least over 100.
Okay.
And I'm going to say goals, I'm going to go 25.
You're almost right on the money. 26 goals, 100 penalty minutes exactly. 100 penalty minutes in today's game.
That's tough.
It's hard to get because we don't fight as often. And they don't seem to hand out misconducts like they were penny candy.
And his are probably majority of those like hard penalty minutes too, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is a guy that has been a significant player for a very long time, and the Sharks really probably don't want to have anything to do with him. They would be much happier if he wasn't on their team because of his extracurricular activities. And boy, what a story that is when you think about it in today's game. That is sad. It's again, we're talking about a team game. If you don't want that kind of guy in the room.
Yeah, totally. As a man, the suggestion of what he's done to his estranged wife and children and kind of abandoned him looks like, I don't know. So just to be clear, so the NHL did an investigation, or they hired somebody to do an investigation on the gambling issue. And it was found he's admitted he's got a gambling problem, but it was found out that they couldn't find any evidence of him gambling in the National Hockey League games. Now, again, that doesn't mean he didn't do it. He could still go to some gambling or some bookie that they didn't interview or whatever to do his gambling on NHL players, and NHL games. But the other allegations about the family stuff is, it's another one of those situations where majority of hockey players have made mistakes and done bad things in the past, but usually it's really frowned upon as part of the code. Like, you don't harm somebody else away, and especially when it's a woman, especially when it's your wife too. So that's the part where you look at him like, I really don't want him in my locker room.
The game, I think, has changed a little bit too. I think it's definitely become more family oriented. You hear guys, talking about the family life and taking care of the family and making sure the family's okay.
Tuukka Rask, 2 years ago when he left the Bruins going to the playoffs there to be with his family, right? And I thought that was fantastic. I was very proud of him to make that decision. So,
and it may have been the same way when you were there, but you just didn't talk about it.
Yeah, right. It never would have got public. Yeah.
You just but right now it's like guys are not bashful about saying, I got to get home for the birth of my child. My father's ill. I got to get home. Those are things now. And, to be honest, that should have been done back when you were playing as well.
Totally. Yeah.
That's just the way it should be.
Yeah. We did a lot of things back then. We kind of I think back, and now I coach kids and everything. And we talk about it. We're hazing. We went through hazing when we're men. And some of the stuff we did or had done to us, it was just ridiculous. I think back about it now. So,
well, you think about it is I've had guys start to tell me stories about hazing, and they're starting ready to laugh, and then they'll say things like, that really wasn't that funny. I don't even know why we did it.
I know it is true. I think about it now, and we thought it was such a big part of the process of becoming an NHL hockey player or even in college, whatever. And it's kind of you're right. It's embarrassing.
It's amazing that you still hear stories not connected necessarily with sports, but of hazing incidents. I just read one 2 days ago where a fraternity and a hazing. I just can't even imagine.
It does nothing. There's no bonding or anything like that happens.
Well, and the potential for danger. It. You've all read the stories. It's all So yeah.
Hey, interesting story out of with the Rangers. I thought Chris Drury, the new general manager, brought in a retired linesman, Pierre Rasico, to help the Rangers. Rangers had a hard time with their face-offs the last few years, so he brought him in little tips where you could put your stick and all that kinds of stuff. I thought that was a really good idea. Instead of just saying, let's just keep practicing face-offs, no, bring somebody in that participates in those face-offs from another angle. It was good.
I think it's a terrific idea, especially too. I bet he could tell them stories. I mean, we've all heard stories. I was recently. I just talked to a center who was talking about a linesman was mad at him and came in and said, you're never going to win another face-off as long as I'm here, because he was, chirping at him all the time. And he says the first face-off after he told me that, he threw it right between my legs, where I had no chance to.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny. Think about that, right? Because he does control that. I mean, I think most linesmen wouldn't cheat like that, but I wasn't at the pro level, so I certainly hoped I would have had more integrity. But I used to. I always say that when I was in college, I gave blood, I gave plasma to earn money, and I umpired, and it was less painful to give plasma. But when I was an umpire, I had a pitcher who was just chirping at every call at me. It was a women's fast pitch softball, and she just every call she just was on me. And she came up to play, and as she walked up, I just whispered, "You better be swinging." And the first pitch was real low and streak. So it's 0-1 on her. The catcher kind of looks at me and looks out to the mound and puts her hand down to keep it low because it didn't have to be too good. Second pitch, kind of almost bounced up there. Streak! Bounces down 0-2. True story. So the third pitch comes in again. It's low, and she golfs at it like she's hitting a 9-iron. It hits it over the center fielder's head, and she gets like a triple out of it. Oh. So the next time she came up, she's walking up and said, "See, I made you a better hitter." That's good.
And she started laughing, but I've seen her since then, through the years, and I've laughed.
Yeah, I always thought it was really important to have a good relationship with referees and linesmen. I never, listen, you get mad once in a while, you don't like a call, you lose your temper, or whatever. But then after you do it, you should go and apologize to them because they're human beings too.
One of my friends has the greatest baseball umpiring story ever. This was so clever. He was getting it from the stands, people sitting in the bleachers. It was a high school hardball game, and he all of a sudden he's behind the plate and he raises his hand. He yells "time," and he walks off the field. He comes out of the gate behind where the backstop is. He goes and he sits down with his chest protector in the second row of the bleachers. And everybody's just as a murmur, like, "What are you doing?" He said, "I thought I might try to call the game from here because you people seem to think you have the best vantage point."
That's good.
Everybody just cracked up.
That's excellent.
Then he went back in and got behind the plate, and it was just
that's right. It reminds me when I was coaching, a lot of rinks for youth hockey. The benches are on one side, and the fans, mainly the parents, are sitting over on the other side. We had a game this probably 4 or 5 years ago, and no more longer. And the parents had just lost their mind. Everything the referee did was wrong, and the kids could see it. They were getting out of control. I think it was Pee-wees or Bantams or something. So I thought, I'm going to take charge of things here, So I said to the other coach, I says, come on, let's go over and talk to the parents. So we had the referee stop the game. We walked across the ice, stood there at the ice and looked up at him and said, listen, you need to stop. I'm lecturing him. I'm giving the father a lecture. This is embarrassing. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to change the world here. I'm going to really, fix this problem. The parents aren't going to be yelling anymore. Walk back. It's like I hadn't said a word to them. They could care less. They were yelling and screaming at the referee.
Oh, no, and they probably thought less of you for.
Totally, yeah. They're like,
no. My wife used to. She was a high school soccer coach, and she would lecture parents and tell them. I thought one of her better speeches is nobody on her team wanted to play what they called on the parents' side, which was on the left side of the field, because their parents were just outrageous.
Right.
And she'd give speech after speech, and it never had any. Impact whatsoever.
Yeah, I did have. Remember, there's a guy Conti. He was a scout with New Jersey. David Conti. That's right. And I guess I was still in the business at that time. I was talking. We were chatting. We got to be fairly friendly. And I was just my kids were. So it must be, 25 years ago or whatever, 20 some years ago. And I was going to start coaching because my son was old enough. He was going to start playing. And he says, he started laughing at me. He says, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking because you played in the NHL, these fathers and mothers and fathers are all going to listen to every word you say. I said, of course they will. I'm Tom Laidlaw. I'm played in the NHL for 11 years. And listen to every word. I saw him about 5 years later. He says, how's that going with the parents? And I started laughing. I said, no, they don't listen to anything I say. They can do
no. If their kid isn't playing, that's all that matters.
Yeah. And you know what? I think you go through cycles as a coach where you get mad about it, disappointed. These parents are crazy and all that. But then when you think about it later, listen, the parents love their kids. It's human nature. Yes, you would love them all to just sit back and relax, let you just coach, but they love their kids. I love my kids too. That's why I coached. So I didn't want my son to get favorite treatment. I just want to make sure he didn't get, caught up in all politics and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, parents love their kids.
Yeah, they do. And they just always get carried away. And although I think it has evolved over time, when I was a kid, if you weren't playing, at least the kids, that I were hanging around with, their dads would be on them. Like, what are you doing? What, are you not playing hard in practice? Like, they wouldn't think it was the coach's fault. They would think it was the kid's fault. I think now they think it's always that it's the coach's fault.
Totally.
Isn't that how your dad would have felt if you had some problem?
Oh, totally. Yeah, he never. I don't ever remember him even talking to the coach other than, "Hey, how's the weather?" And they never. Right. It's up to you, Tom. If you want to go and play, you play. So,
yeah. Okay.
Hey, before I forget, so this coming Sunday, October 3rd, we have our Alzheimer's Walk at the Westchester Community College at 1:00. And again, we have Team Grasshoppers. I will post that again on my Facebook page. You can go there. And we have that little contest going on. We're not where we want to be right yet as far as raising money. Once we get to $7,500, one person, the person that's raised the most money, I think that's at $1,000 right now, will be coming over for a meal over here that I'll cook on a Sunday. If we get to $10,000, we'll draw a name out of the hat for another person to come over. And Ron Greshner has threw it in the ring there too, that whoever raises the most money will also be going. Once we get whoever puts $1,000 in, once we get to $7,500, whoever puts $1,000 in, that person can come to a Ranger game with us. If it's $2,000, they can bring a friend too. So some incentives.
Wow.
Raise the money.
Way to step up, Ron.
Yes, fine. Well, he probably won't. He'll probably stay up in Canada and won't be able to go with me going, which is fine. That's good.
Yeah, okay, but it's still
so a fun event. They had a bridge lighting at the Tappan Zee Bridge. So it's officially called the Mario Cuomo Bridge. They had a bridge lighting on Saturday night. They lit it purple, and we did a show there from a restaurant right near there, the River Market Bar and Kitchen. The gentleman, I don't know if you saw the show. The gentleman that runs the River Market Bar and Kitchen is Glenn Vogt, who's actually the general manager who's in charge for the Window in the Worlds on 9/11. So he was not there, obviously, but lost, I think it was over 100 people. They actually, really interesting story. They put a fund together. I think they raised, I think Bloomberg, the mayor, helped them. They raised over, I think it was like $30 million to help out children. It was like a scholarship fund to help them with school. I think it was a lot of different things. And now they're doing it with the grandkids that are coming along too. So it was a really interesting story.
Wow. Well, anyway, we've run out of time today. We appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll talk again on Wednesday. But if in the meantime, if you want to read what I have to say, I'm at hockeybuzz.com and DetroitHockeyNow.com.
Definitely. If you want to listen to the radio version of this show, you can go to radio.co at 365 Sports. Again, that's radio.co at 365 Sports. We'll see everybody on Wednesday.